Hello and welcome everyone. This is a new episode of Scoresheet. Plenty of sports items, plenty of segments. We are going to focus on a very important topic, which is really on top of the sports news all over the globe right now, especially after the Olympic Games. We do have an expert who is going to tell us more about sports nutrition, about the supplements, about the doping issue, about how to prevent a story like the story of Ihab Abdurrahman from being repeated once again. We do have a lot to tell in this episode, but before we start, let me first welcome our dear guest live here in the studio, Dr. Alhussein El-Shennawy, our sports nutrition consultant and our sports analyst of this episode. Thank you very much for being with us, Doctor.
Thank you, it's my pleasure.
And as I said in my intro, that it's now on top of the sports news all over the globe, this doping issue. First, I'd like to know if this is new or it's really flourishing these days, and in specific just before the Olympic Games. I mean, we have not heard about such activities from the WADA except in the Olympic year. And so many labs were already closed, because they were discovered not to follow the international regulations. So it follows some repercussions. The samples themselves now, they do take much more time than they took before. Let me have a general idea before we go into the details.
First of all, the techniques of analyzing the samples is advancing. We keep now the samples for 4 to 5, even 10 years, and we retest them every now and then.
Yeah.
So even if you pass, like it happened, and the Egyptian weightlifting lady that won the medal after the two Russians were, the Russian and the Ukrainian were disqualified.
Of 2012.
Yes, in the London Games. The technique of finding new doping substances is improving. The passport, like they call it, when they analyze the complete blood picture and the hormone levels and everything, every day there are new inventions. So I can disqualify you retrospectively.
Yeah.
I don't have to wait. I'm still expecting that within the next few months or years, a lot of doping cases, especially after these Olympic Games, would be disclosed.
In fact, this is something which I really cannot understand why. Because there are a lot of substances are now being added a day after the other on the banned list. So, for example, in 2008 in Beijing, the athletes were taking or were following some diets or some supplements which were not by then included into the banned substances. Now the case is totally different. Should I judge them or should I punish them for something which was by then legal?
It depends. We have a very specific case. I know we are talking about Sharapova, as you know, and Meldonium. The lady that didn't check her email.
She was only skimmed or something like that, well, as far as I understand.
The biggest mistake is that she took it for a very long time, I think
10 years. 10 years.
And she was discovered because the company said that the maximum use of this medication is between 4 and 6 weeks. So you can compare 4 to 6 weeks and 10 years.
Yeah.
You're improving the blood flow, so more oxygen is going to the muscles, you're recovering better. The muscles are performing at a better rate, endurance, stamina, everything is improving. And although she apologized at the end, but it's very clear that this is a case of doping. When you use something for 10 years, even if it's a medication, the fact that she could have stopped it when she received the letter from the WADA.
Wasn't it proved that she had something, a genetic thing in her family regarding this issue, and she just wanted to improve her blood circle or stuff like that. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but when I was reading about that, I know that she had an inherited gene or something like that, which may cause some problems for her in her blood circle.
Still, it will not lead that she uses it for 10 years. I think nobody did more tests on this Meldonium thing like the company which is manufacturing the medication itself. So when the company goes out and says, this medication should only be used between 4 and 6 weeks, and she uses it for 10 years, and there is something fishy. And as you mentioned now, genetics, now the tests are going for genetic doping.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you may have an abnormality that helps you.
Yeah.
We had this in the 60s and in the 50s from skiing, I think. It was a Finnish guy, and he had an increased production of the red blood cells, and the red blood cells are able to carry more oxygen, and the more oxygen means that he has a higher stamina and the endurance, and the recovery is swifter. So we have to prove this. So the techniques are advancing. People are not taking
Techniques
more...
are advancing or regulations are harsher?
Both. Definitely both.
Okay.
It goes hand in hand. The Kenyan
For
runners...
example, this was my coming question. When it comes to runners, for example, from Jamaica, so it's according to their geographic location, they are much higher.
They have.
And so they do have big lungs. So
I'm sure that you saw the performance of Usain Bolt this time when he was smiling before the finish line, looking to the side. He had even had time to say cheese before the finish line. But I think even he's gifted. I would call him the gift, because his competitors used to say he doesn't warm up. Yeah. He just wears the spikes, go to the start block and starts. Like we are turning on the engine of the car, first gear, and we're doing our errands.
He had the body of an athlete, of a runner.
And he's taller. If you compare it with the American Gatlin and the others,
and Mo Farah,
he's completely different.
Yeah. He's skeleton.
Yes, yet I believe that his time, he wouldn't improve his time. His record is 9:58 for the 100 meter. It will be broken.
By him, you mean?
I think we are advancing. If you go back to Seoul in 1988, when Ben Johnson was discovered, when he was using Winstrol, he ran 9:8 something. Now we are 0.3 faster.
And Carl Lewis?
Also, that's the same range.
Same range?
Range 9:8, yes.
Yeah.
So the thing is, if you compare, the times are improving. The technique is improving of running. The reaction times are improving. Everything is getting better. If you compare the times of the 100 meter now with the times we had in the 40s and the 50s, it means that when Usain Bolt is crossing the finish line, the runners of that era have still 25 meters to run.
Yeah.
So he's practically in 100 meter 25% faster. Which is a complete... The record for the 400 meter was also broken by a South African guy. In these Olympics, the record was 20 years old or more, or around 20 years old. So everything is improving. Even the gear, the stuff they are wearing, the clothing, the shoes, the resistance, everything. It's an industry. Yeah,
of course. Now it's an industry with the full meaning of the word. And there's the industry of having an Olympic champ.
Yes.
An athlete on the republic level, for example, the local level is something, the continental level is something, the international level is something, and the Olympic level is a completely different story, if you agree with me.
Yes, I wrote an article 3 years ago. It's called "Why Do Egyptians Not Make It to the Olympic Games?" And if you look now, according to the last results we had, things didn't change a lot. We have no awareness. How can
Didn't change a lot or change to the worse?
Okay, then if you regard this as a negative change.
I mean, for example, if I'm going to compare with the gold medal of Karam Gaber in 2004 and with what happened with Karam Gaber right after that, as an example, because I've not heard about Muhammad Rida, for example, when it comes to boxing after 2004. I've not heard about what happened to Nahla Ramadan in the weightlifting, because I don't know why we do not invest in those athletes. I mean, for example, I do have Hiba Rashid in judo, and she was such a champion. I did have Nahla Ramadan in weightlifting, and she was such a champion. And even those who were there with the weightlifting, of course, I'm not here speaking about Sarah Samir or Muhammad Iyad. I'm speaking about Ahmed Abdelaziz, for example, who did something too bad to one of his muscles, and it was really heart breaking when I saw him.
Can you believe?
But all those I'm talking about, they're all 30 plus. 30 plus, meaning that they do not have a chance in Tokyo.
Okay, as
Tokyo
you said,
22, of course.
As you said about Tokyo 2020, is that Sarah Samir is the only one who is still young, as you said. And
but
we have to have a second row of athletes. We don't have this. We don't have this system of creating a champion.
This is going to be
a debate.
Another debate. But let me focus on what we do have right now, or let's focus on Russia, for example. Because Russia is such an example, or a very clear, obvious, bold, I may say, example of what we call systematic doping, or at least this is the accusation.
State doping.
State doping. Systematic doping. To the extent that only 271 of the Russian athletes were approved to compete, and many of them they also competed under the Olympic Committee flag, not under the Russian flag. How is that?
No, there is even something worse. Yeah. They have prevented the Russian Paralympic team from competing.
Story. So I'm speaking about what happened already.
I mean, it is a deal. It is politics.
This was my coming question. Is it mixed with politics?
Yes, definitely. Definitely, after the highest court of arbitration regarding sports said, we are not going to allow the Paralympic athletes from Russia to participate. So you left the normal, I want to say normal in brackets, and they attended the Rio Games, they scored, and now we're coming to the Paralympic athletes and tell them you're not allowed to participate. And even a lot of people are criticizing Thomas Bach, Dr. Thomas Bach, which is the head of the IOC, International Olympic Committee President, for not taking a very strong stance against the state doping taking place in Russia. So it is power. They have a very famous cartoon of the Russians where they all wear a hat with the word dope, and all the Americans with the word Pope. So they are innocent, they don't dope, and the Russians are those who are doping. So it is there's a lot of things going behind the scene.
And when Russian President Vladimir Putin was there in Kremlin addressing the athletes who returned back from the Rio Games, and when he was speaking about this Paralympic issue and how the Paralympic Russian champions are not going to be competing in Rio because of this doping case, he said, or he described this case as cynical, as inhumane, and also as a shame for those even who took this decision.
Because it is.
Do you think something is going to happen in the coming few days? The Paralympic Games are going to start on the 7th of September.
Well, let's see. Everything can change. It's a power.
I mean, do you expect some changes?
I do expect some changes. You cannot. This is not a collective punishment thing. And at the end, there was a very famous interview with the lady from the Russian team that was the whistleblower, who talked about the systematic doping, and she said that she's afraid to be threatened to be killed. She said on the first
German,
on the German TV that if she's going to die, or this is not going to be a normal accident. So the threats, the game, there are a lot of bets going on, and there is a lot going on behind the scene. So we have to see how it's going. But in my humble opinion, it was a deal. We will let the team participate, while the Paralympics will exclude them.
Till the moment, with all those hormones or substances
Steroids
added a day after the other, as I said before, to the listed banned substances, is it going to continue this way? I mean, should we have a nutritionist for every athlete to know every day now what's now prohibited, now what's now added to the list? If we do,
this is a chart showing the different types of doping and their effect on the human body, whether these are diuretics or testosterone boosters, like we had in a very famous case, without calling names. The thing is,
you mean EHAB?
Yes.
Why would I mean, we should speak about EHAB in specific, because this is something which is really very much annoying to all Egyptians, because unfortunately EHAB was one of those whom we were expecting that he is going to return back with a medal.
Two things are very annoying in that case. Number one, how can a professional athlete commit such a mistake? As we will see in the pictures, there is a picture called banned substance free. If you
Muhammad, banned substance-free. This is the picture we want to have now on the screen, please.
This is the picture that shows that any product carrying this label is approved by the WADA, is approved by the International Olympic Committee, and is approved to be used without containing any banned substance.
Okay.
So if you are at the international level competing for an Olympic medal and you don't know this, if you don't know this, where is your advisor?
So it's not his fault?
Not only his fault.
Yeah, okay.
But at the end, he should have came out. He should have done the second sample, B, which is now the media is saying, why is he doing it now? The Olympics are already over. It was a poker game. If you commit a mistake, you have to go out and say, this is my mistake.
No, I mean, this sample B, if proved clean, he is not going to be banned.
I know.
But if he is not banned, if proved possible, it may extend from 2 to 4 years, meaning that his career as a javelin athlete is already over.
He could have at least allowed the access and the analysis at the appropriate time. He waited. He waited a long time to allow it. He said that he's only going to do this in the presence of his advisor, whoever he is. The thing is...
Okay, in my humble opinion, he is Russian. This advisor is Russian.
Good. The mistake...
In my humble opinion, of course. I don't know anything about the nationality of his scientific advisor. But yet, if he did it on his own, just to improve his performance or to try to keep with the international regulations and international level, it's not only also his fault.
Not alone.
Why he was not considered as a hope of Egyptians in obtaining a medal. Where was the federation and where was the Ministry of Youth and Sports?
This is what I mean, that it is all of them. First of all, they are are they sending letters regularly with the updates about the WADA list? We have the WADA list of 2016. Do they send always the amendments to the athletes and their nutritional advisors?
As far as I know, that this is being done.
Okay, then if it is sent and he does not read it or his advisor does not read it, then we have another problem.
A disaster, not a problem.
I'm just trying to to describe, to portray it in a way, in a humble way.
All these questions and in detail, Dr. Shennawy, because as far as I know about EHAB in specific, that there were many other samples which were taken and proved completely clean. And when it comes to this sample, which proved positive, the proportions or the results showed that, for example, one of these hormones, the high normal of it, 3,900 units. But in EHAB's blood, it was nearly 27,000, or to be accurate, 26.9. I mean, you are talking about...
The thing is,
8 to 10 doubles, something like that.
Yeah. The thing is, I want you also to tell you that as long as it doesn't have the badge, this badge, it could be contaminated. And this is what happened to a very famous Argentinian tennis player called Guillermo Correa in 2001. He used the multivitamin I used for a period of time, and at the end they discovered that it contains nandrolone, which is an anabolic steroid derivative. So he was disqualified from Wimbledon. He was in the top 3 in 2001, and he sued the company. This supplement is sold in Egypt.
Okay.
Okay, and it does not carry the banned substance-free badge. So if you take it, this is your responsibility. This is like the ABC of using supplements properly.
Was the case of Hassan Abdel Gawad the same?
Well,
in a way?
Could be.
Okay.
It could be contaminated.
I mean, sir, we are not here shy or it's very much approved.
Yes.
To say names, because we are speaking about our athletes and we want for them the best.
Not only our athletes, we're talking about our money.
There was a case for Hussam Ghali.
Yes.
There was a case for Hassan Abdel Gawad.
Yes.
And before even there was a case for Muhammad Barakat, but Muhammad Barakat has something wrong with his thyroid. I mean, he was being treated because of the T3, T4 hormones and the TSH, I think, also with Eltroxin for years.
If you take it, And did you write it down? This is something else.
I mean, all these things now are now revealed and announced by the media. But how to prevent this from happening again? As I said before, should we have a nutritionist for every athlete?
At least for every athletic association.
For every federation?
Yes. I cannot discover that there was no nutritionist traveling with the team. Can you believe this? Out of the 120 people who traveled, there is no nutrition advisor. Even before in the preparation.
Javelin thrower, weightlifters, I mean, such sports which need a lot of masses of muscles, not ordinary muscles. I mean, of course, it's mental fitness in addition to physical fitness and all this stuff. But, for example, if I am going to compete internationally, I should, for example, have 2 or 3 chicken, 2 or 3 kilos of meat to afford or to provide my muscles with all
enough protein.
This mass of protein. This is not applicable.
This is why we say you have first to tailor your nutrition according to your own program. This is also another picture of the side effects of steroids with all the different details. And this is what brings me to another thing. These things are sold in Egypt without any
prescriptions.
No. You can underground. You can buy this online.
And on shelf.
Yeah. And no problem. And then we come 10 and 15 years later and we complain that we have cases of infertility, hepatic failure, kidney failure, renal failure, infertility, and stuff like that.
This is another story, but let's focus, would you please, once again, on the athletes before going to the normal people.
The awareness. Do they do workshops? Or do they know? They know that they have to tailor their nutrition program. The weightlifter is different than the sprinter. The sprinter is different than the boxer, and so on. This is what we need. It's not one fits all. I call it tailoring because me and you, we don't share the same size. So our requirements for the food and the supplements are different. You first tailor their nutrition program. You analyze their body with the body fat and the percent of muscles and the flexibility and mobility and all that stuff. And their eating habits, drinking habits, their disease history in the family. And then you tailor your nutrition program.
Yeah.
This is what you should do. It's not a one-fit-all. This is what we don't do with the athletes. And then we add the supplements. Supplement is to supply the necessary things you cannot ingest by food. You cannot have 3 chickens. You need for an athlete, you need for every kilogram of weight almost 2 grams of protein. So if my weight is 100 kilogram and my body fat is 10%, so 90 kilogram times 2 is 180 gram of protein per day. 180 gram protein are almost 5 to 6 chicken breasts. You cannot ingest this volume of food. You cannot digest it. After exercise, there is something called a window of opportunity. The fuel has to reach the muscle within this time, which is 90 minutes. If it does not, the recovery will be impaired, and so on. So we need the athletes to know what they can buy and what not. We have to tailor their needs. Their lifestyle has to be a lifestyle of a champion. You don't come 2 months before a competition and get ready. It's not like the Sanawi Amma.
This was another question. How much should it take to completely clean my blood of all these substances if I am on such substances for years?
Because your renal function is different. You can go online.
Approximately, or give me a range.
It will tell you, for example, nandrolone is taking, for example, 60 days. But you may have a genetic gift that it cleans out of your system after 5 days. So this is very individual. So if you read it online and it says that your system will be clean after using nandrolone or any other thing, this is a very, very, very nice picture showing the doping. Because the doping is for a thrower. As you see, the supply is immediately going to his muscles, and his body is completely manufactured out of capsules of different colors. So this is a very nice way of portraying doping, as if you're putting nitrous in the engine of a car.
And whenever here, as you said, it's a very nice picture showing doping, and this one?
This is the badge I'm talking about. Look for the logo, drug test, drug free. Not this picture, the picture before is about the banned substance-free image. This is the image this is the different types of doping. You can be taking diuretics to decrease your weight if you need to go to boxing.
Yeah.
You can be using something as a stimulant like adrenaline and stuff like that. Exactly. These are the different categories. You can be using medications for asthma like clenbuterol.
Yeah.
But clenbuterol has one side effect.
Bronchodilators, you mean?
It is an anti-asthmatic, but the side effect is that it causes fibrosis of the cardiac muscle.
Wow.
Which is irreversible. Still people use it. For what price? For what price are you using and selling this to the public?
What Arnold Schwarzenegger has done to his liver, I think that he is one of the examples we have.
You should be proud that he's still alive.
Yes, amen to that.
At that time. This is, as you see, this could be a memory to Lance Armstrong. Lance Armstrong proved to be doping with EPO, and as you see in the picture, the guy who is doping is bigger in size. He's sitting on the syringe like someone who is sitting on a missile that is giving him a speed, an advantage, better stamina, better endurance, and less time for recovery. This is one of the advantages of taking steroids.
Let me take you, sir, from the athletes to the normal people who want to lead such a healthy life, who want to practice sports, and who want to have such a nice shape. And if they want to compete only on the local level. Unfortunately, there are gyms and gym halls scattered all over Egypt, and unfortunately, as you've kindly mentioned, the underground is filled with... flourishing with the supplements from many kinds. I don't know where they were bought from and how even...
are they genuine or not?
Genuine or not, and who is prescribing them? I mean, should be of course, under the supervision of a doctor, of a specialist. But whenever it comes to someone who is an amateur or a friend, for example, I've taken this, so it was great with me, so you should take it, you know, stuff like that. First, how to prevent this from happening? What to do? Is it to enforce law or to have a specific law? Is it to be included into the sports law, for example? And if we want to have pieces of advice to our kids and to Egyptians in general who are practicing such a habit, because it became a habit, by the way.
It became an epidemic, if I say this.
Or an addiction.
It could be, because you see that it's like a positive reinforcement. You use more supplements, you think that the reward is better.
Yeah.
You're gaining muscles. But where is the awareness? Where do we have specific TV programs, and these TV programs are raising awareness? We don't have this. There is no time for raising awareness in programs here in Egypt.
Yeah.
Two, there is no law enforcement. You can go online on any Facebook page in Egypt and order steroids, and they will be delivered to your home.
No, I mean, when I go to the gym, I would find on shelf many supplements.
Yeah.
This is for that, and this is for another.
And he doesn't ask about your medical history.
It's not only that. It's just you pay and you'll take it.
Yes.
Even he is not going to ask you why you want to take that.
He's not qualified. He is not qualified.
This is what you were speaking about?
This was the steroid effect. This is one I included in my research about the side effects of steroids, because as you can see, it has multiple effects. Even there are women who use steroids, as you can see from this picture and the picture before. So the problem is we have no awareness, we have no law enforcement.
Yeah.
If you go online, you can order anything you need and you get it even if you're underage. I also had a personal case of a female who a guy in a supplement store gave her a pro-hormone to boost testosterone. Can you believe this, for a woman?
Wow. And to whom it may concern, testosterone is the male hormone.
Yes.
So to be given to a woman, or to a girl, to a teen, this is a disaster.
And the long-term side effect, I don't know, I think she filed a complaint.
Okay.
And this should be followed by the Ministry of Health. They should check on these shops. If you go to enter a shop and you find vials on the shelf, you don't know the vials, where they're from, are they original or counterfeit, the quality, all that stuff. And we don't have premium degree products in Egypt. On top of that,
Sir, are you telling me frankly that these steroids are a main reason of hepatic and renal failure,
Definitely.
and especially among kids? I mean, who were kids? I mean, starting 14, 15 years old, something like
quite
that.
early.
And quite early, as you've kindly mentioned, and they are even more dangerous than smoking, for example. And they can cause a lot more health damage to them. Whether we're speaking about males or females.
No. Let me give you an example.
Yeah.
I'm a pharmacist. Why don't I use steroids? Because I read a lot about steroids. I read for more than the last 10 or 15 years about steroids.
Yeah.
I don't use them because I know that the long-term side effect is fatal. Cholesterol, atherosclerosis, you can have problems with diabetes. For example, there was some diet drops. They're called HCG, human chorionic gonadotropin. They were banned by the FDA in 2011 or 2012. They are still sold in Egypt. They cause cardiac arrhythmia, which is an irregular heartbeat, and gallstones.
Murmur?
Yes.
Benign murmur?
Well, it depends on how much you're going to take from these drops. Arrhythmia in general is an irregular heartbeat.
Yeah.
Okay, add to this the gallstones. The thing is, they have not been prevented. They are published on TV to be used. So where is the Ministry of Health? What is the role of the Ministry of Health that on the one hand we are talking about treating hepatitis while we are not closing the sources of hepatitis, the sources or causes of hepatitis in Egypt? Are we treating just the cases? Why don't we kill it like they say from the start?
Yeah.
We don't do this. We don't raise awareness. 16-year-old and taking steroids. In Europe and in the States, over 45 and 50, there is also for men now what we call a hormone replacement therapy. But it is done by a physician.
Yeah.
And he has certain parameters. There is blood work done in a regular time, at a regular interval. We need to know how there are any cancer factors, because as you know...
Something carcinogenic, you mean?
Yeah, whether there are... No, each individual has a cancer gene.
Yeah.
But it needs a very specific stimulant. It could be stress, it could be eating habits, bad eating habits, it could be chemicals. So, when you do this and you take steroids, you're accelerating it.
I am a mother, okay? And I want to make sure that my kid is not taking anything. I mean, kids can do anything, I mean, behind the backs of their parents. But, of course, I'm that keen to have my kid practicing sports, even if he's not going to compete, just for himself and to be that fit and healthy. What are the tests I should do for him or for her to make sure that his blood is clean?
Well, first of all, if you take steroids, there is something called steroid rage. Your character is changing.
Character, or there are other physical symptoms?
No, acne, for example. Sometimes for men, if they take steroids and they don't use testosterone boosters after the cycle, they get something called gynecomastia, which is the development like a female chest.
Yeah.
For women, it's going to be the start, the change of the cycle. The menstrual cycle is going to be negatively influenced.
And hair distribution
and the hair,
and stuff
everything.
like that. Yeah.
So you can have this under close observation. And the other thing is the normal blood pressure, the blood work you have to do on annual basis, for example.
Does it have a cyclic effect, sir?
What?
Taking supplements in a way?
Steroids? Yes, definitely. Because it attacks very specific receptors in the brain. This is what it's called steroid rage.
Yeah.
But it will take some time that this develops. So it will be a very late symptom. The acne will be the first one.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, you have to see, which I usually say, who are the peers of your children? Who is he hanging out with? And if you see a sudden change in his physique, then you know that we have a huge issue. You can do this by raising awareness. This should be the responsibility
of the Ministry of Health only, or the Ministry of Health in cooperation with the Ministry of Sports and Youth. Both of them, even with the schools, with the universities, clubs. I mean, those clubs who had those halls or those gyms inside them, shouldn't they also be responsible?
Definitely.
Whom to hire, whom to make responsible for our kids or those who are training inside, whether they are athletes or they are normal people, whom we should blame? You know, one of the biggest problems we have that we do not have someone responsible for the whole issue. I mean, this responsibility is distributed among so many entities and people. So how do you see this?
I would say that, for example, the media should raise awareness.
Okay.
We don't have any specific program about supplements, professional program about supplements, fitness, and anything related to sport. And I mean professional, which is updated. I don't mean the bro science, which is the science, the stuff you read or you can get from unidentified sources. This is number one. Number two, you have to go to universities and give lectures. For example, when I wanted, for example, to change the eating habits of pupils at the school. You know what we did? We changed the food offered in the canteen. And we made, with the parents, we started to do meetings to educate them. Why do we change this? When you have a kid who is 11 or 12 years old and weighing 140 kilograms, then you have a problem.
I'm proud to be a Mansourian from Mansoura, okay? And Mansoura University is one of the biggest in Egypt. And Mansoura University, in a specific faculty of pharmacy, they did a great job. And there was a group, a teamwork, which focused on this, I think, 10 years ago or something. I mean, the start of the second millennium. I think it was 2005, 2006, something like that. Because there were very famous gyms there. And they were very famous also of just producing or generating bodybuilders and stuff like that. And it was discovered that very dangerous stuff was given to the kids by then, and it ended with many chronic diseases, and it even ended with the death of some of them. But unfortunately, right after these gyms were closed, these research are now in the drawers, and I don't know where. How to fill this gap between research and practice on the ground? How to benefit from those research? I'm not here speaking only about one university or one place, but all over.
It should be a joint venture.
Is it only the internet? Is it only the research, as I've mentioned an example?
Everybody is putting the researchers that are endorsing his point of view. People who want to sell peptides, which is one of the new things in doping, they never say that they are called peptide hormones. They are called peptide hormones. They cause infertility. They increase the prolactin in men. All that stuff. But we don't have it. We don't have awareness. We have to do this. We have to keep the people aware of what is happening. And at the same time, the universities have to do not their research, they do their analysis, going to gyms and doing pool and stuff like that, selecting people to ask them about different things. So this is what we are looking for. We need the cooperation between the media. We need the cooperation, the awareness by the media, the research is done by the faculties, and the law enforcement by the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Internal and last but not least, in education.
Amen to that, sir. I do have a lot of other questions to be said about this doping issue and those substances, because it's really painful to hear about the cases which were affected by taking these supplements. I'm not here speaking only about the athletes, I'm speaking about the ordinary people. But we do have the press digest. We are going to have just a quick look on the main headlines which were published on national and international websites. And as far as I understand that you are a fan of football, but not only in Egypt, outside, and about our talents outside. So we do have the headlines number 4 about Deo, Ninni and Gaber. Egypt, Deo, and Ninni and Gaber could meet in UEFA's Champions League. Egyptian star duo Mohammed El-Ninni and Omar Gaber could potentially meet at the UEFA Champions League group stage after Arsenal and Swiss league holders Basel were drawn together in Group A. This is going to be hard for us.
Actually,
who we are going to cheer for.
I'm happy. I'm happy. I think Arsenal was playing with Watford yesterday.
Yeah.
And he was, although he was not, he was he was not playing for the whole match, but he did a lot of good passes. The more we have players going abroad, and the more they're going to be competitive and enjoying the professional life of a footballer, this also will be good for us. They will come back with their style, with their fitness. They're good ambassadors for Egypt. Mohamed Salah, we remember when they go to Italy now, when I tell people I'm Egyptian, yeah, you're from the country of Mohamed Salah.
Yes.
Neni is the same.
And he was chosen for so many times the best player
among the
Serie A.
The squad. They want the best squad. And also we don't want to forget Subhi.
Ramadan.
Still not that lucky.
And now Omar Geber and the Nini.
I want more. I want more people, Egyptians, playing abroad.
Tell you a secret. Every time I found one of our players is going abroad for a medical check, I kept just praying that he's going to be fit. And
he's coming back again one piece.
I mean, whenever it comes to, especially the accidents which are taking place these days, especially in the fields or on the greeneries, I found that there's something wrong which I really cannot understand. Every time we're speaking about sports, we're speaking about something to keep me fit and healthy. But when to know that, for example, the youngest brother of Yaya Touré was suffering cancer, that there are accidents like that of, as the public say, swallowing their tongues. And, you know, these things I cannot understand how they can happen with a sports person, or this is normal.
Well, if you watched this time, for example, the Rio Olympics, there was an injury of the guy, I think he's from Ukraine or Latvia, and he was cleaning and jerking 195 kilograms. And the video of his elbow getting completely dislocated out of line with the sound. So I was sitting there, so it has a price. Are you willing to pay the price?
Yeah. Amen to that. A Barcelona or a Real Madrid?
Me?
Yeah.
Real Madrid.
Okay, great. Then you are going to be happy with Ronaldo being the best player.
Yes.
Ronaldo crowned UEFA best player in Europe. Real Madrid superstar Cristiano Ronaldo won the UEFA Best Player in Europe award on Thursday after winning both last season's Champions League and Euro 2016 with Portugal. Ronaldo received the accolade for the second time in his career after finishing ahead of Real teammate Gareth Bale and Atletico Madrid's Antoine Griezmann. The award is voted for by journalists from each UEFA's 55 member associations.
I was one of the very few people in my friend circle who was betting that Portugal will win the cup. And people were looking at me at odds, but a lot of odds were beaten. For example, Germany playing against Italy, it never happened before that Germany won, so this happened. And another sequence, and if you watch the way Portugal reached the final and the other teams, their road was easy relatively, so they had the energy at the end to win. And once Cristiano Ronaldo was injured in the final, and we were all somehow sad, the other team that was focusing on him the attention was scattered. So I was expecting at the end that Portugal too, and I was very happy at the end actually.
Okay, let's go to some good news with Abir Abdurrahman. Abir Abdurrahman, the weightlifter, whom we know that she is now a silver medalist in 2012, but it was also proven that she is going to be a bronze medalist, but back in 2008 in Beijing. Egypt's weightlifter Abir Abdurrahman thrilled as second Olympic medal nears. Egyptian weightlifter Abir Abdurrahman told Al-Ahram Online on Wednesday she's very happy she now technically qualifies to receive 2 medals in last 2 Olympic Games following the suspension for doping of several medal holders finished ahead of her in those competitions. I'm so happy, I'm proud, I thank God for what He is blessing me with. She is only 24 years old. Abdurrahman could be awaiting the bronze medal for her performance in the women's 69 kilogram at the 2008 Beijing Olympics after the International Weightlifting Federation announced that China's gold medalist Liu Chonghong and bronze medalist Natalia Davidova of Ukraine had violated anti-doping regulations. Good for us.
I would love that we get these news on the spot, that we don't have to wait, because the taste of the victory is quite different.
Sure.
After all this, in the end, I want to mention that we are very proud of our female athletes, especially now the two Hidayah Malek and Sarah Samir and Khurshid. She was not very lucky.
Khurshid.
Yes. These, like we say in Arabic, you honored Egypt, شرفتم مصر.
Yeah.
And I hope for them that there is a professional plan to make them get the gold medal in 2020. They should not be left.
We do have only 1 minute, and this is my last question.
Good, go ahead.
What to do from now till Tokyo 2020? I mean, it's not that long. 4 years is nothing when it comes to create an Olympic champion. 1, 2, 3, 4.
First of all, we need a nutrition advisor in the Olympic Committee in Egypt. We don't have this.
Number one.
Number two, we don't have someone for for sports psychology.
Okay.
This is not present. Okay. Three, further, a time ago, we had something like Madrasa al-Mutafawakhin, where they used to select the athletes from the clubs and then put them like in the...
Scouters, you mean?
Yes, and then start to develop on them till they become champions. We should have a system. And people who are not eligible with their time or qualification or scores to travel to any Olympic game should not go. And I urge the big clubs like Al-Ahli and Zamalek and all the big companies invest in these athletes. These are the ambassadors of Egypt.
Amen.
Football is not everything in Egypt. I know that a lot of people will hate me. We have other sports. We have bodybuilding. We have the athletic team, we have the weightlifting team, we have a lot of things. If we spend the same money that we would be spending on football, and this is what I mean, I want when all these teams come back, I want them...
If squash was an Olympic game, we
cannot have everything.
Anyhow, unfortunately, we're running out of time, but thank you very much for your input, Dr. Alhussein El-Shennawy, our sports analyst of this episode, and the sports nutrition consultant. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you for your time.
And by this, we come to the end of this very special episode of Scoresheet. We'll meet again same time on Nile TV International. On behalf of Dr. Muhammad Rabia, Amr Fathallah, the staff of Studio 35, myself, Nermeen Abdurrahman, many thanks for watching. Usual, always and forever. Assalamu alaikum.